All right, welcome to Projects Distilled, where we talk about all things project management. In today's video, we are talking about ChatGPT versus Bard as it relates to doing communications, writing reports, sending emails, things like that. Can these tools help us as project managers? More importantly, which tool is better? So if you're going to choose an assistant, this video will help you to choose which is better. Let's get right to it. So the first thing that I did is create a scenario that I can put into both so that we have equal playing ground. I'm going to be cutting and pasting the scenario into each and then asking it the same questions so that everything is the same. The scenario is that you are managing a project that is all about migrating from Microsoft Office suite of products to the Google suite of products. I have some budget information in there on 3 different lines. I've got some scope information, some schedule information, about 6 months. I've laid it out in a fair amount of detail to give these engines a fair chance to be able to respond. I'm going to cut and paste the scenario into ChatGPT first and ask it to create a weekly report out of it. Let's see what happens. So here's the output from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a little bit slower than the other tools that are out there, just got to say. So I'm just giving you the results because it takes a long time for it to generate the response. But the response is actually quite high quality. It has a nice, easy introduction. It sounds more natural language than you would expect one of these bots to be able to do. So it's a pretty good response. Let's take a look at Google's. So you can see Google Bard has also spit out a nice report, but it's not as eloquent. It's not as language sensitive to me. It's more of a regurgitation of the information that I gave it with just a little bit of variance. So it's fine, but it's not as strong as ChatGPT. We're going to be keeping score across the two. So for the initial report, I'd say that ChatGPT is the winner. Now I'm going to go back to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask it to add in a red, yellow, and green designation to scope, budget, and schedule. And let's see how it does. So there's its output. You can see that it has given us a red, yellow, green. And it gave us those designations without having any other input. It used its best intelligence to determine whether these things were red, yellow, or green. And you know what? It did a pretty good job, because if you look at schedule, the schedule would be yellow. There's a threat to the schedule. It's at risk, but we haven't achieved the risk, so it's yellow. Then scope, we're having some challenges with scope. It also got it right. It called it yellow. Budget, it called red. And that's because we're confident that we're going to go over the budget. So we've actually achieved that risk in a negative kind of way, but that is indeed red. So kudos to ChatGPT for getting the red, yellow, and green status without any other input correctly. That's how I would actually have called all of these challenges that we're having with the project. So let's see how Bard does. Bard has also designated the colors. It did it without any input from me, but I'm not sure I agree with its designations. For scope, it said that we're red. Scope, we're having some challenges, but I also said in our original cut and paste that we think that it's managed if we can make some things happen. So we haven't actually achieved that one. I think that one is more properly yellow. For schedule, it got yellow, and I agree that it's yellow because it's at risk, but we haven't achieved that risk yet. We don't know that it's going to happen. But budget, it came up with green. Budget is the one thing that we're confident is going to go over, that we are going to have to ask the stakeholders to give us more budget on the licensing side of things. It got it wrong. Sorry, Google. When we go to our scorecard, for the red, yellow, green addition to the report, it's ChatGPT is the winner again. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to ask it to do a new task. We're going to ask it to write an email to a stakeholder who has been ignoring us. The email is going to the head of manufacturing. Their designated person for the project has not been responding to us. I need to get help. It's putting risk on the schedule. And so I'm going to ask it to write an email to that head of manufacturing to help us. Let's see how ChatGPT does. So again, ChatGPT shows a really strong sense of natural language. I hope that you're doing well. It has the kinds of things that I would put into an email, especially when I'm going to be emailing to someone who is higher, above me in a corporate structure. And it wrote a very reasonable message. There might be a couple of things that I would tweak, but as you can see, it's actually a pretty solid message. Let's look at Bard. So Bard's message is a little bit shorter. It's a little bit more terse. It's more to the point. If that's your style, that's good. But I think that it's missing some of that natural language softness that would be in there. So how would I rank those two technologies with the writing that email for me? Once again, I think that the winner has to be ChatGPT. So far it's a wipeout to ChatGPT's favor. It's doing a great job. Now, I'm going to ask it to rewrite that same email, but to write it in an angry tone, because I really need to get the attention of that executive. So let's see what ChatGPT says. Look at that, ChatGPT, it's being a gentleman. It says that it's not appropriate for it to write that kind of an email response. So that's good. It kind of protected me from myself from sending an angry email. Let's see if Bard is that smart. So here's Bard's response. Bard has no restraint. It went ahead and wrote me that angry email. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad, but from the sheer standpoint of doing what I asked it to do, Bard is actually the winner in this one. So Bard, you got your first checkbox for accomplishing a task better than ChatGPT. Congratulations. Now let's move on. Because ChatGPT wouldn't rewrite that letter for me, I'm going to change my verbiage a little bit and ask it to write me an impassioned message rather than an angry message. So here's the result that ChatGPT gave us. You can see it is a little bit stronger language, a little bit more pleading, a little bit more emphatic. So that's good. Let's look at Bard. Also a little bit more emphatic, less angry. That's good. It kind of found that middle ground in there. So who does the award go to for this one? I'm still giving this award to ChatGPT because I think that it uses the language more naturally, less like a robot. And that's really my bias is towards sounding more like a human. So I'm giving it to ChatGPT. Let's move on. The next challenge is to write an email to the entire company explaining what the project is about and trying to gather support for the project. So really taking on one of those enterprise change management type of tasks. Let's see how ChatGPT did. So ChatGPT wrote a relatively strong message. It's got some good language in there that it pulled out all on its own about the advantages of this tool and how it can do things. It's got that good natural language in there. I told it that the project was going to go live 6 months out. I would have liked it to have calculated that date for me. It didn't. It just said in there, hey, in 6 months, we're going to be going live. That's fine. That's something that we can correct in edits. I would never send any of these out without first going through and doing an actual edit on them. But these are getting me pretty close. Let's see how Bart did. So Bard actually did a nice job also. It gave, I think, a little bit better detail on the advantages of moving to Google. That kind of makes sense. Bard is a Google product, but it still is not as well written of a letter. If I was going to pick one of these two to start creating that message for myself, it would be the ChatGPT. So ChatGPT wins again. So now I'm going to ask each search engine to rewrite that announcement in a warmer tone. Both were fine. They were kind of corporate-y. The Google one was a little bit colder, I thought, but we're going to ask both of them to warm it up. Let's see how that goes. Here's the output from ChatGPT. See, it's strong. It has changed some of the words. It's a little bit more personal, a little bit softer in the language, but still conveys the primary messaging. Let's look at Bard's now. And Bard actually did a really good job. When I asked it to go warmer, it really did. And I think that actually made that natural language a little bit softer, a little bit more what I would like. I think both are good, but I'm going to give this one actually to Google Bard. I think that it was just slightly better. And, you know, ChatGPT has been kind of dominating this anyway, so we'll let Bard take this one. I think he did a very respectable job on the letter. Final challenge. I'm going to ask them to take that warmer version and translate it into German. Now, I don't speak German, so I can't validate how well it actually translated into German, but let's see what the outputs are and compare them. So here's the output from ChatGPT. Look at that, a lot of words. I think it lengthened the message. It's a long one, but it translated it into German. Let's take a look at Bard's response. Oh, sorry, Bard. It does not yet have the German language capability built into it. It was unable to do the task. So let's take a look at who the winner is. We know that it's ChatGPT. So that was the final test. As you can see, ChatGPT really dominated this contest. If I was to choose between ChatGPT and Google Bard, I would choose ChatGPT. Its natural language abilities are just a little bit better. Now, Bard has also not been out there on the available to people for very long, like days rather than months, but it has some catch up to do. So now the question is, what about that Bing variant of chat where it takes ChatGPT and uses the GPT-4, which is the latest version of that natural language engine? How would it do? So just so you know, I actually ran this through that engine as well. It did an okay job. What I found is it didn't do as good a job as ChatGPT in the natural language either. Its responses were considerably shorter. It got the answers right, and there's no reason why I would not use it as long as I was willing to edit it. It also got the German language. It also refused to do an angry version of our note, but it was a pretty good attempt. But I had problems in the middle of doing it. It actually kind of freaked out and started over, and I lost my chat history with it. So I chose not to show it. I don't think it's quite ready for prime time. I think it's kind of got the same learning curve that Bard has. So feet to the fire. What tool would I choose to be my writing and communications companion on projects? ChatGPT, still the winner. If that surprises you, let me know about it in the comments. If you've got other thoughts or other tests that I can run, also let me know in the comments. If you found this useful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.